Okay, so now you've done your base piece, which will be the first layer that will sit on top of your electronic skill tester. As you can see, if I click to open that layer palette again, you can see that I've got my base shape completed. So what I now need to do is the second piece that's going to sit on top of this piece, which will have might have things cut out of it, it might have things etched into it, much like I showed you in the previous video with the dog kennel. So what I need to do is I need to click on the base shape, and I'm going to make a copy of that because I need it to line up with each other when I do the laser cutting. So I'm going to go Control C, that will make a copy of it. And I'm going to go down to here, this little icon, to create a new layer. And I'm going to double click on that, and this is going to be my top. So on my top layer, I'm going to now paste the copy that I've made. So I'm going to go Control V, and you'll see that it appears in that little icon window there. What you will notice though is that it hasn't pasted directly the same as the other one. So to make sure it does that, I'm going to go Control Z to undo that. I'm going to click back on my top layer, and this time I'm going to go Control F. So what you'll start to see is, so if I click on that, is that it will, if I toggle off this, they're exactly in the same spot. Okay, so they're lined up completely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this base layer, and I'm going to turn it off so that I'm purely working on the top layer only. So I've got my top layer here. Now I might use, again, the shape tool here. You've got all these options: star, polygon, ellipse, rounded rectangle, and rectangle to, you might cut out a pattern. So I might draw a series of designs that I want to have cut out. And you can also, you might want to put letters. So again, you can use the type tool here and just click. And I might write, I don't know, might write my dog's name. And then if I go to my selection tool, I can then, holding down Shift, I can adjust that, I can rotate that and move that around so that it's where I wanted it. Again, it's in black, so that means that that's actually going to be etched. If I wanted to cut out the name, all I would do is go up to here and change my options. So I would go to none as my fill color, and I would go to red again, double checking over here that it is on 255, 0 and 0. Now if this doesn't pop up, you can press this little icon and it will. And then again, changing that stroke to 0.025. Okay, so that would now mean that those letters of Charlie would cut out. What you will notice though is with letters like the R and the A is that those middle bits will fall out. So depending on if you want that effect or not, you might have to put in some bridges there, which we can show you in class. So I've got a cutout bit. If I wanted to make these etched instead of cut out, I'm just going to go to no outline, and instead I'm going to black fill those instead. Now, the important thing to remember is that somewhere, it might be here and here, you're going to have to drill your holes for your wire pieces. So you need to think about your placement of items to allow for room for those pieces to go in. So what you can see now, I might just delete that one, is I've now, in my layer palette, I've got my top layer and my base layer. So if I now unlock that, if I take that away, my top layer, that's my base piece. I'm going to cut that first on the laser cutter, and then on the laser cutter I'm going to bring in my top layer and cut that. So they will be exactly the same, except the top layer will have pieces etched and cut out of it, and the base layer will just be solid. So essentially that is how you're going to create your base piece. What you need to make sure you do is that you've made that color RGB red 255, and you change your stroke width to 0.025. Otherwise the laser cutter won't cut it, and then you have all sorts of issues. So once you've got that, you then need to save your file as an Illustrator file, as a vector file, and then that will then be used to print out at the laser cutting machine. Once you've saved your file as an Illustrator file, you also then need to go back in and save it as a PDF here, so File Save As. And what this will prompt you with is just a window in terms of how you want to save it. So I'm just going to go to High Quality Print and Save PDF. And what that means is we can then print that PDF out, and then we can use that to actually cut your timber piece for the base as well, using this as a template, and also a little bit of a guide to experimenting to see how it will look before we do go and print it at the laser cutter. And that's it.